Hi guys, this is Drew from the Cellcast, of course. You probably already know what I'm going to say, but we are finally reached the end of season 2 of our Star Trek Lower Decks coverage on these re-releases that we're doing in preparations for not only the Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover, but also season 4. All of this starting Labor Day weekend. Of course, we're re-releasing these because seasons 2 and 3 were a part of other episodes, and seasons 1 and the upcoming season 4 won't be. So we thought it'd be easier just to have all this in one location. If I have failed to mention in the last couple episodes, if you are liking what we're doing this, please let us know. We may decide to do this with the other ones, and if so, probably we'll put that in a new RSS feed. Not sure yet, but yeah, this episode we are reviewing the last 2 episodes of season 2, which are Wedge Dudge and First Contact. This was originally part of our The Cat Returns review, and for this episode, we did have a guest with us. That would be PaulJPowers.com. We thank him for joining us on this episode. But, yeah. In the meantime, here's your episode, and we'll catch y'all later.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Robotech.
Come on now and set sail for the future. Find the sky, oh, the love of
So before we get into this, Paul, I am curious, have you watched any of Star Trek Lower Decks before this?
I have seen. I saw season 1 when it first came out. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this a try, and I'm not a fan of how should we say, the more irreverent cartoons. Kind of like I saw one episode of not Mork and Mindy, but
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty,
Yeah.
Dr. Pickle, whatever. It's not for
The
me.
search for Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, and so I was like, you know what? I saw the first episode of the first season. Like, all right, I'll give it a try. And I didn't really like the hey, Mariner just like, you know, screw you guys, I'm number 1, forget you. Her attitude of that. But I got to the end, and it seemed to get a little bit better. So I had just watched just season 1, and then when I found out I was coming on with you guys to review a couple of episodes of season 2, I was like, all right, I'll watch from the beginning of season 2 to whatever this is. Well, this is the end of season 2, so this last week I binge watched this season. I think there's only 10 episodes, or if that.
Yeah, it's only 10 episodes per
But
season.
I didn't want to if there's any lagging stories in between, like Boimer going, to the Titan, I want to be aware of these things. Not that it really matters, because they reference things all the time that just go over your head and you're like, oh, well, moving forward, it doesn't really matter that much. You can kind of get the drift. But,
well, there is an ongoing story. It's just in the background of what's going on.
Right. So I could say, like Jacob, I have seen up to this point in this series. I have not seen season 3 yet, but I will say that watching season 2, I've come to like this. I think it's gotten better as the show has moved along. So I'm really starting to grow attached to these characters and like them. So
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the first episode we're reviewing tonight, which the title is in Klingon. And I think it's pronounced Wedge Dudge.
sure, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Is directed by Bob Suarez and written by Catherine Lynn. In this episode, according to IMDb, the Boimler tries to find a bridge buddy while the USS Cerritos crew has downtime during a long warp trip. And that is so little of what is actually going on in this episode.
I was about to say that was a minor point.
That was a minor story, because the rest of this is watching all the other lower deck crews on the other ships.
Yeah, the Klingons, the Vulcans. The best was the end credit ones.
That's for 5 minutes. What were you saying,
I said
Paul?
the best was the end credit ones, and I don't.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And I won't say what that is, but it's a fun.
I'll mention it
Okay.
here in just a second.
It's hilarious.
The guest cast for this episode, and man, there's a lot of them. I do have to start off with Fred Tatasciore, who normally plays Shax, who is a normal character, but he also played 2 different Klingon officers in this episode.
Because three's the limit.
Robin Atkin Downs played an older Klingon officer and the Klingon first officer Tog, who got killed right after we had met him.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
John Curry played Ma'a, who was the Klingon lower decker who was the captain by the end of this episode of that ship. Colton Dunn played Klingon Captain Dorg, who was the villain of this particular episode. Rich Fulcher reprises his role as Rebnar from the 3 episodes
I think
ago.
so, yeah.
And he's also the voice of the Pac-led computer and many of the Pac-led lower deckers. Mark Evan Jackson is the voice of Vendome, who is the Vulcan who is available to play chess. Joy Bernson played Shara, who is the Vulcan unable to play chess. Nolan North voiced Sokol, the Vulcan commander, and Gabrielle Ruiz was introduced in this episode as Talin. I say introduced because
I was about to say she did well. I won't go into season 3, but it seems like she's gonna be a future character.
she does not have a major role in season 3. I will tell you that much.
Oh.
But it looks like she will in season 4. Jess Lowe played Tagai, the female Hawaiianer.
Sure, who's really a mooner? Sure.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then Carl Tart, of course, played Lieutenant Kayshawn. The episode's title in Klingon translates to 3 ships, which is weird because there's actually 4 ships.
I was just thinking that.
Anyway, the title card presents the title in Klingon script. This is the first Star Trek episode title to begin with a lowercase letter and the first not to be written on the title card in a non-Latin alphabet.
Nice.
Series creator Mike McKayan originally planned to have the opening credits of the episode appear in both Klingon and Vulcan, but was unable to do so due to the time and expense it would have added.
Oh, that would have been amazing. Just have it all in. Well, yeah, all 3 because it's 3 ships. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first episode of the franchise that features a scene played during the end credits. So far, I think only. Talin quotes Spock in this episode from Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, saying that logic is the beginning of wisdom, not the end. Ironically, her headband resembles the one worn by Valeris in that movie.
Yes.
Sokol, the captain of the Cheval, has a meditation lamp that has a copy of the one Kishara, copy of the one Spock had in his quarters. Dr. Ta'ana's rock climbing holodeck program is reminiscent of James T. Kirk climbing El Capitan at the beginning of Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, as was Boimler's Go Climb a Rock shirt and hover boots. Captain Freeman's Ritos t-shirt echoes the disco t-shirts worn on Star Trek Discovery when they're off duty and exercising. The Pac-led puppet master, who was previously sought by the USS Titan away team in Kayshawn, His Eyes Open, was revealed in this episode to be Klingon Captain Dorg.
Dorg quotes William Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar, cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. The same line, along with many other lines from Shakespeare, that was quoted by General Chang in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country. Of course, said in their original Klingon.
Yes.
While playing Clue, Mariner casually mentions the sniper rifle that can shoot through walls, a reference to the TR-116 rifle modified by Chulak with a micro transporter featured in the DS9 episode Field of Fire.
Nice.
Ma'a mentions that other Klingons have tried to destroy the peace between the Federation and the Klingon Empire, as previously seen with General Chang, Ambassador Kell, and the House of Duras. Ma'a saying that Klingon blood runs as reddish pink as ever is a reference to the inconsistent variations of Klingon blood color throughout the franchise.
I was hoping they'd throw in Pepto-Bismol, but they didn't.
Except the color is pink.
Yeah.
Is that same Pepto-Bismol pink every time you see blood for the Klingons here? Two officers, a human and a Vulcan, each wore a leotard in their off time, matching those worn by Deanna Troi and Beverly Crusher in the Next Generation episode, The Price.
Nice.
So, Paul, since you're our guest, what is your thoughts on this episode?
At first, it was very disjointed, going from ship to ship. It wasn't as flowy as some of the other episodes. So that was a little, I want to say, off-putting. On the other hand, it was great to see the perspective of the lower decks on each of the ships. So I thought it was well worth that trade-off. I loved how I loved being able to see a glimpse into that, how like the Klingons, they said, oh, the Klingons will probably have it just as well as we do. And not only are they in like sleeping like in close quarters, but they're on nets. Like they're not even built into the wall. They're just like hammocks in there. It's just like, yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
Is that all your thoughts on this episode?
For now, yeah. I'll interject more as people talk.
Okay, Jacob, what are your thoughts on this episode?
I would say, oh, come on. For some reason, I was getting this episode and the next episode confused. Obviously, there's a tie-in.
There's a connection.
There's a connection with it, obviously. But I love the idea we get to see the other lower decks of like the Klingons and the Vulcans. I enjoy that. I really enjoy that. I enjoy that. Definitely, this is it turns into what I enjoyed about the movies, where you get a lot more action based. Like towards the end, you get this like little glimpse of what's going on. It's like, oh, there's a distress beacon going on. There's like a fluctuation of energy going on. Like the Vulcans are the first one to pick it up, and they're like, it's like you'd be like you're going outside your parameters with this, and the Cerritos crew picks up on it and they jump out of warp, and you get in this like mad dogfight, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like really I thought it was really cool. I thought it was like, oh, okay, we're finally getting to see something, like
action.
What I'm used to in the movies. Some action going on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got to see some stuff blow up.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to play it out as like I'm just here for the action, man. But it's just like it was like this what I understand about Star Trek as a television show is about it's more about exploring, it's more about understanding, like exploring different worlds. And for me, from the movie perspective, it's about what like really dangerous situation our characters are going to get into this time. And like Lower Decks does that. But then you get into this episode and the next episode, it is just so, it'd be like it takes the movie format of the adventure and the excitement of like, oh, you got real peril going on, and it's just not inner character dialogue, which I enjoy on this show. And I hope I'm not rambling and sounding like a knucklehead, but
Well, not any more than normal.
Huh?
Not any more than normal.
Oh, thanks. Wow. That's still coming up. Come on, man. Come on, D-Lit.
She says it'll wear off by morning.
Okay. Do I really have to go buy a litter box now?
Unless you can hold it by morning.
She says that part shouldn't be effective, but thank you for giving us all that mental image.
You're most welcome. Meow. I enjoyed this episode. It was really good. It was a very well done. The point where like all three story points converge, where the Acklets and the Romulans, the Klingons are in alliance.
But
in
the
a way.
Romulans were not in this
No,
episode.
the Romulans were not in this episode. It was the Klingons, and I enjoy where the Klingon lower deck attendee, not attendee. Come on, Jacob, use your words right. the Klingon, he rises in ranks and overthrows the captain, realizing the captain is in the wrong, and be like, this is not the way that Klingons don't do this. Klingons don't do this, and be like he kills the captain, becomes the captain.
Yeah,
and it's just like, let's just get out of here. Be like this is not the way to do. We're gonna go back to the council, and we're gonna we're gonna make this right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that bravo, that's a great character arc, great character jump for this character. And I don't know if we meet this character again later on in season 3, maybe.
We haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
And the season's over, so maybe he'll come back in 4. I don't know.
Oh, okay. But with this episode focusing on the other lower decks of other ships and other species, it was a delight. It was a delight, and definitely when you get at the very end of it with the Vulcans coming in and saving the Cerritos, that was a real treat. That was nice. I there again, kind of going back to the movies, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this episode, and definitely the way they tie it in with how the end of the series, into season 3 goes. I really enjoy it so far.
All right. I really enjoyed this episode. Also, I do like seeing the other lower deckers and the other ships. I still think the Pac-Led one is the funniest.
Oh gosh, yes.
It's like, I'm hungry. Well, you should eat mushroom. That's a good idea. And then they don't eat anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole idea that the Pac-Led issues that we've been facing since the end of season 1, when they keep coming up, is all because we finally get some answers on that. All that stuff's coming from Dorg, a Klingon who's just trying to, still not. He's faced the taste of war from the Dominion War, because this takes place after that in the Star Trek franchise. But maybe he's really thinking that much like General Chang in Star Trek 6, that we need to go back to this. This is being with the Federation is making us soft, so that's why he's setting up this to try and cause a war to happen, because he wants to die in honorable combat. Technically, he did die in combat. Whether or not that was an honorable death is another matter entirely.
That's for the Klingon Council to decide.
Exactly. So yeah, the whole episode I did enjoy. This is one of my favorites, and I am interested to see what's going to happen with T'Lyn going forward. The Vulcan version of Mariner, which is really kind of how it feels like in this episode.
That's a good point. And I like the actress, her voice and her character. Her character design reminded me of a Vulcan we have seen before. Maybe it kind of reminded me of like the Vulcan in Star Trek 6, played by the mannequin lady from Sex and the City.
You mean Valeris?
Yeah.
Is the character name. I don't remember the actress's name.
Right, or I don't know. It kind of reminded me of some other Vulcan female we've seen.
The only other character her design reminds me of is actually a Bajoran Lieutenant Rowe at the end of TNG.
Okay.
But that's an entirely different character. It's just her design kind of looks like that.
Maybe it's the headband. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the last episode of season 2. First Contact, directed by Jason Zurich and written by Mike McKayen. In this episode, the USS Cerritos is tasked to aid another starship on a first contact mission. In this episode, we've got Phil Lamar as the first officer and Admiral Freeman, Lauren Lapkus playing Jennifer Schrayen, Jim Piddock as Commander Mandel, the voice on the comm badge and crewman Horde played by Ryan Ridley, Billups played by Paul Scheer, and Carl Tart playing Lieutenant Kayshawn. And in this episode, we have a special guest star, Lycia Naff, reprising her role of Sonia Gomez, now a captain. Because when Captain Gomez makes a nervous ensign who trips, she explains how she's done way worse in front of many more intimidating captains. This being a reference to the memorable scene from the Next Generation episode Q Who, in which Gomez accidentally spills a cup of hot chocolate on Captain Picard's uniform.
Oh, nice.
She is reprising her role. She was introduced as an ensign in the Star Trek Next Generation episode Q Who, and last seen in Samaritan Snare, the episode which introduced the Packlets. In universe, about 16 years have passed since these events, while more than 32 years have passed since the first release of Samaritan Snare. Wow. This likely marks the longest real-world time span between two appearances of a character who is still portrayed by the same actor. Previously, Korn and Arn Darvin, portrayed by John Colicos and Charlie Brill respectively, appeared on Star Trek Deep Space Nine over 28 years after their last appearance on the original series.
Nice.
This episode marks the third time the phrase First Contact is used in the title of a Star Trek installment, the first two being the Next Generation episode First Contact and the movie Star Trek First Contact. This title refers to First Contact missions' prestigious assignments in which Starfleet engages an alien culture for the first time. Despite her mission profile usually focusing on second contacts, the USS Cerritos is assigned to support the USS Archimedes during First Contact with the Lapirians. After the Archimedes is disabled, Captain Gomez allows Captain Freeman to finish the assignment, marking the first such accomplishment for the captain and her crew. This is the first Star Trek episode to feature the end title "To Be Continued" since the Star Trek Enterprise 4th season episode Demons. So that's a little over 20 years.
Yeah.
As solutions to save the Archimedes are discussed, Kayshawn suggests warping around the debris field. Most characters hectically dismiss the idea, and Shax can be heard yelling, "Dr. Aaron says that we can't do that." This is a reference to Dr. Aaron McDonald, the science consultant on Star Trek Lower Decks.
Huh.
Throughout the episode, Brad Boimler is making preparations for Captain Freeman Day, including a banner similar to the one seen for Captain Picard Day in the Next Generation episode The Pegasus. Several characters point out that the festivities are actually on Arts and Crafts Day intended for children, or in the case of the cetacean, or calves, in other words. Due to the accomplishments during the episode, Boimler later crudely changes the banner to read Happy First Contact. Tendi is excited at the prospect of going to the off-limits rubber ducky room, referencing the barely visible rubber ducks included on Easter eggs by Michael Okuda in the Master System displays on both the Enterprise D and the Cerritos.
Nice.
A captain's yacht is shown for the second time in this episode after its first appearance in Insurrection. Similar vessels have often been included in Master System displays and background information about various ship classes. As the implant of Samantha Rutherford once again malfunctions, he quickly views several backup memories of moments he had spent with Devon Tendi, most of which are taken from previous episodes. Notably, one previous unseen memory sees Rutherford and Tending celebrating a New Year's Eve in 2381, while another sees the pair painting a nude Jack Ransom in an apparent art class. Rutherford also views and dismisses a memory in which he seemingly receives the implant for the first time. This unidentified shadowy figures indicate that Rutherford actually does not need the implant and imply that it may have nefarious uses unbeknownst to him. More on that in season 3. Cetacean Ops is shown for the first time after several mentions and references in previous episodes, starting with Second Contact. Its function is revealed to be associated with the ship's navigation. A similar facility was mentioned to exist aboard USS Enterprise D in the Next Generation episode Yesterday's Enterprise and The Perfect Mate. It has also been included as a piece of background lore in publications such as the Star Trek Next Generation Technical Manual, Star Trek The Next Generation Enterprise D Blueprints. Matt and Kimolu, our 2 beluga whales, are the first shown Starfleet officers from an Earth-based species other than humans. And I have a bunch of other ones in here.
Other than humans?
Trivia. And it goes on for a long period of time. But you know what? I'm going to skip over the rest of this.
Wait. I didn't understand that. Oh, Earth-based other than humans. I was about to say all the others. Every species out there is other than human, but Earth-based other than human.
Earth-based, yeah, because there's technically a third Earth-based species in Star Trek, which we have only seen in Voyager, which are descended from the dinosaurs, but they're not in this episode.
Okay, so the cats aren't from Earth. Okay.
No.
Okay.
They are one of these species that were originally created for Star Trek the Animated Series.
Yes, which I've seen a couple. I love that they tie it all. First of all, I got one of the things that I love about. I just want to throw this in there about Lower Decks. As a fanboy, I love all the connections and using and references from all these others. Unlike another Star franchise that tries to say, no, this is canon and this is not, it's kind of separating. This show pulls together, and I applaud it for it.
Even the silliest things.
Yes, it makes it even better when they do that. So yes.
Yeah.
So Paul, since you are talking about why don't you go ahead and tell us what you liked about this episode?
Because there's some things about this, like, it's really weird because these last 2 episodes are so different from almost the rest of the series. Each episode is mainly a standalone. There are a few like leftovers that can be fed into other. These really are more serialized than the rest, I would say. So it's not a great jumping off point for anyone coming into the series, just as a warning. Get some background with some other episodes. But that being said, there sorry, I'm trying to think of something that I liked. There's a lot more drama. There's a lot of things in this. There's a lot more drama, like the whole like upper decks, or forget what they're called, the bridge against the captain because they think she's gonna leave, and there's a lot of hostility there that there usually isn't. But one of the things that I found intriguing about this episode is the whole idea of taking off the outer hull to navigate through this, this asteroid field, for layman's terms, and because they have to take it off for science reasons. Fine, I get that. I thought it was a great idea, something in Star Trek that you've never seen before. I mean, which is hard to do.
Something you could not have done in the age of the ship models.
Yeah.
I suppose so. I was trying to think, when was the last time something like this has been done? Something where it's like you take an integral part of the show and you make a new thing out of it. It's like, oh, this is a new thing that can be done. And I don't mean like, oh, we changed the replicators to now make coffee instead of whatever. But the last time I can think of something this major is the first episode of Next Generation, when they do the saucer separation.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they do a major ship modification for reasons. It's a good reason. Now, guiding through the asteroid field or whatever it is, without that outer skin and keeping bumping into things, I just like, why isn't the ship blowing up? I don't understand.
They made it sound like that's a second. I guess it is a secondary hull technically. That maybe the inner hull can actually do a good the same kind of job of protecting it from the rocks. But
yeah,
and the thing is, you do see that there was at least some punctures into the in that last shot.
Sure,
of
it's
of
amazing
that
what
hull.
as many Star Trek shows and movies that I've seen, and like it's amazing what damage these ships can take and still function.
Yes.
And then for most of the episode, I'm like, why does it say first contact? Why is it first? And then by the end, you realize, oh, it's Cerritos's first contact. Oh, okay, that's clever. Okay, so that was clever. It's interesting to see where this story is going. This whole I don't know if it's A story, B story. They get kind of intertwined or like which,
they do.
in Lower Decks. But I'm trying to think what else happens in this. I think that's the
pretty much it's that whole thing. We got getting in there and keeping the other ship from crashing into the planet.
I guess usually there's like a major story and like a couple minor stories going on, but this, I think the only other minor story is the captain keeping the secret. Like she's gonna.
There is the idea that Tendi thinks that she's going to be taken off the ship because
that's right.
She overhears Dr. Ta'ana say that she's not fit to be in medical, and it's because she's actually
wants her to move up.
Wants her to move up and.
Which is a
areas.
Wonderful payoff from all the drama with the captain going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the only really B story, because I mean the only other one is Boimler wanting to get credit for Captain Freeman Day.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, that was annoying.
Which is a stupid joke.
Yeah. Which
I do have one issue, and it's because I don't think any other Star Trek television show or movie has done something I think this stupid. Why on earth did when they designed the Cerritos, did they put a console at the bottom of a water-filled tube that's supposed to be water-filled that can only be operated by someone with hands? Even if it is something that should almost never have a need to be used.
It's almost like, why is the only exit of a cat world at the top of a high tower? It's like plot reasons. That's the only reason why.
It's a nice
only reason.
It's a nice little a little sequence. Don't get me wrong. It's just it just seems like Starfleet does some weird things in their ship designs from time to time.
Yeah, but
this is one of the stupidest things I've seen them do.
I agree with that. And also Boimler being so wanting to take credit for his preparations for the Captain's Day seems kind of out of character for
it really feels like they really didn't know what to do with this character this episode. Except for that one sequence. And they thought, oh, well, this whole Captain Picard, we'll make a Captain Picard Day jokes.
Right,
with his
which is fine, but to the degree that he takes it, I thought was too far for him. Anyway,
But anyway, do we have anything else we need to talk about before we end this episode?
I think with when it comes to Tinley and Rutherford, with Tinley like scared to death she's gonna get booted off the Cerritos, and Rutherford not wanting to lose his memories that he has with Tinley. And I think
because he's still spooked from the end of last season.
Yeah, he's still spooked about it. And I enjoy where it's one of the characters come to him and be like, hey, if you be like, you keep all these memories, you're gonna have any there's not gonna be room to grow. And he makes that decision to delete all of it, and you get that little flash and be like, oh, there's something in his past that he doesn't like, maybe he wasn't supposed to remember. I enjoy that. Obviously, it's something in season 3,
and I'm over here trying not to say something.
We'll get there when we get there.
I'm just saying that all I will say for this for that little sequence, this is allowing this show to actually do the world building that Star Trek Picard did not do. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Okay, sure. And what the it's like when it comes to the reveal that it's like, oh, the captain is actually under arrest for the
Suspicion of blowing up an entire planet.
planet. Yeah.
Which I thought was a great twist.
Oh yeah, that was
Mhm.
nice. Because Captain, what's her name? Captain
Captain
Gomez?
Freeman.
Freeman. Thank you.
Freeman, yeah.
Yeah, Captain Freeman. Be like, it's this entire setup to where like, oh, she's gonna be promoted. She's gonna be promoted.
Yeah.
And it turns out, nope, she's getting arrested.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that's nice. And then it leads into what
Season
they're
three.
going to lead
Yeah,
into
season
season
three.
three. And what I understand, a lot of shenanigans happen.
Oh, season 3, I think, is better than season 2, in my opinion.
Oh,
okay.
wow. Because I
'Cause-
thought season 2 was better than season 1.
Well, see, here's the
I would
thing.
agree with you there.
For me, my problem with season 2 is it feels like even with the second viewing, it feels like they were not sure where they were going with some different things, which is why we have an entire episode named after the replacement security officer with Kayshawn, and then like 2 episodes later, Shax is back. So it's like they knew they couldn't bring Shax back immediately, but then they bring this other character in for like, now he's just a background character that shows up from time to time.
it
seemed like whatever they're thought of the and of course they backtracked quickly on Boimler being on the Titan really quickly.
One episode.
2 episodes
I thought
actually.
that. Oh yeah, 2 episodes. I thought that was a great out though.
Agreed, it was. I thought it was great.
Now I will say a lot of my issues with season 2 in some of that really does get fixed when we get to season 3, because there's a lot of, they know where their story is going now.
I was
will say
about
that.
to
It really
say-
felt like at the beginning of season 2 they didn't know
Yeah.
how to jump out of season 1 and continue the story. So they had a couple of quick episodes that, maybe were not pushing a story forward, even though you did have the stuff with the Packleds that the Titan was dealing with.
Yeah.
But by this point, I mean, really I'd say episode 5, they knew where they were going, and they can continue it forward from there.
That makes sense to me, because from what it feels like to me is that season 1 is very much an episode by episode, whatever you call it. But season 2 is a transition from episodic to serialized.
Yeah,
So
actually
at the
having a
begin-
continuing story.
Right. You have some at the beginning, you have some stories overlapping, very few, but then by the end, it's like almost all the stories are beginning to continue and overlap. And so it's that transition that's a little awkward.
And the thing is, there is continuity starting in this season that seems to actually affect stuff going forward, like the relationship we saw between Dr. Ta'ana and Shax. That throughout the season, even though it was kind of not in your face, but it was there if you're watching it. That continues forward. All the stuff dealing with Jennifer will continue going forward, especially after this episode. And the whole thing with and the fact that they are actually playing with Rutherford's past, I think it's actually going to take elements from season 1, namely a certain character that was my favorite character from season 1.
Okay.
1 episode character. Well, 2 episodes. He was in 2 episodes.
Okay.
Certain holographic.
Oh
character.
no!
He doesn't come back, but they are actually bringing the logic forward as to what's causing what the whole deal, what with Rutherford's deal.
Oh, okay.
That actually will play in all the way to the last episode of season 3.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot going on. Just those stories that we mentioned between the captain and everyone that you just mentioned now. That's a lot going on.
And they keep all the great Star Trek references all the way through. In fact, season 3 has a ton of guest characters.
Good.
And it never
That's probably
feels
my
like
favorite parts.
And it never feels like there's like 1 or 2, or feels like they added them because we needed one this episode. But a lot of them do feel like story relevant, or at least really good jokes. Especially in the next episode, Grounded.
Okay.
With Bill Murray, Groundhog Day.
No, not quite. Let's just say this one actually, while we've only had 1 episode so far that took place on Earth, This next episode is mostly takes place on Earth, and a lot of the Earth places that Star Trek has gone.
Okay.
Just
I got
you'll have to wait and see.
We'll
Get there when we get there. Paul, since you are our guest this evening, why don't you tell us where we can find you at and what kind of cool stuff you're doing?
Well, I am pauljpowers.com. You can find me at pauljpowers.com and see what I'm up to there. All my social media links. Nothing too exciting except that you can always find me at the Retro Rewind podcast, where we review movies and games that are 15 years and older. And we have hundreds of episodes out. It's coming up to our 10th year anniversary. So
Nice.
you can go to retrorewindpodcast.com and there's a search button. Search for any of your favorite movies or games and give us a listen. See if we're worth your time, I guess.
All righty. I think though that's probably going to be it for us tonight. So in the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And this is pauljpowers.com.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759.
Really should update that.
His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming. On YouTube at Cellcast. On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.